I'm Ariana Grande.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Erivo.
And you're listening to the Broadway Podcast Network.
Visit bpm.fm to discover more.
LinkedIn is pretty great at a lot of things, like helping you tap into the latest trends and insights in your field. We cannot stop your coworker from tapping her pencil. LinkedIn can help you find new jobs that align with your career goals. We cannot help you find the source of that weird smell in the office fridge. Ew. And while we can't stop your coworkers from bringing their hobbies into the office, LinkedIn can help you bring your career to the next level. LinkedIn is the network that works for you.
Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere, is now streaming on Hulu and Hulu on Disney+.
Trying to find something real in all the noise.
You always do. The artist you know, the story you don't. See Golden Globes nominee Jeremy Allen White as Bruce Springsteen. Critics are saying it's a career-defining performance.
Let's burn this place down, Johnny.
Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere, now streaming on Hulu and Hulu on Disney+. Rated PG-13.
The SparkFile podcast may contain profanity and other adult content.
Please use your discretion.
When I bump into something that inspires me, I dump it in my spark file. Could be something that I want to make or how I want to be. I pump it in my spark file. I jump into my spark file. Let's open up the spark file.
Welcome to the Spark File, where we believe that everyone is creative, but smart creative people, especially in this day and age, don't go it alone.
I'm Laura Camion.
And I'm Susan Blackwell. We are creativity coaches who help people clarify and accomplish their creative goals.
You should know that just by listening to this podcast, you're joining a warm and wonderful clan of creatives.
But you may be asking yourself, what exactly is a Spark File?
A Spark File is a place where you consistently collect all of your inspirations and fascinations. Every episode, we're going to reach into our very own Spark Files and exchange some sparks. From time to time, we may even talk to some folks who spark us too.
And your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to take some of those sparks of inspiration and make something of your own. So without further ado, let's open up the Spark File. Hi, Laura Camion.
Hello, Susan Blackwell.
So happy to be here with you. So grateful, so thankful, which is another kind of word for grateful.
Kind of, but slightly different.
I
appreciate it. I appreciate both being thankful and grateful.
We are safe, we are well, and we get to make a podcast together today. So how about that?
Yes, we do. How about it? How about it?
Are you ready to jump into this?
I'm ready because I am excited. I think you've got some really, not just good sparks flowing today, but really important ones.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how I do. Everybody lower your expectations. I'm going to jump in.
Do it.
So back on January 22nd, just a few days back.
Or 3 years ago. Conceptual time, 3 years.
There you go.
Actual time, 1 week.
So on January 22nd, we, the Spark File, hosted a free workshop called Be the Change, But How? And the title of that workshop grew out of the phrase, be the change you wish to see in the world. That phrase, be the change you wish to see in the world, is widely attributed to Mahatma Gandhi. Although I learned from Laura, historians believe it was his grandson, Arun Gandhi, who popularized the phrase.
That's true fact. I researched it.
Who knew?
Yeah. I mean, because his grandfather apparently spoke about it as bigger concept in a larger way, but the grandson is responsible for a nice, concise, soundbite for all of us.
That good distillation.
Yeah.
Whoever spoke the words or distilled them, the sentiment contained therein is that as we actively embody the type of change we wish to see in the world, that change has a greater likelihood of taking root. We can influence our world through our actions and our leadership and that change can start with us. So the Be the Change workshop was our version, one way that we were being the change that we wish to see in the world.
One small thing we could do.
One small thing we could do using our creativity to fight for the powers of good during some dark, scary times in the form of a free creativity workshop, and hopefully giving others some time to consider what creative action they want to take to counter darkness and anxiety. We were very sparked by the workshop attendees and all the ways that they were using or planning on using their creativity at this time.
Word.
So the next morning, on Friday, January 23rd, Laura and I were comparing notes, and we were both remarking that we felt less anxious than we had in a while, which made sense. One of the concepts we shared in the workshop comes from Harvard-trained sociologist, world-renowned coach, and New York Times bestselling author Martha Beck. In her most recent book, Beyond Anxiety, Beck shares that the presence of creativity, when you are engaging with your creativity, it can drive away anxiety. Apparently, the part of the brain that activates curiosity and creativity is an entirely different part of the brain than the area that activates worry and anxiety. And these two parts of the brain cannot work at the same time.
They don't function at the same time.
They can't function at the same time.
It's astonishing.
So according to Martha Beck, instead of asking ourselves, what can I do? We should ask ourselves, what can I make? What can I make? So we made that workshop. We brought people together, really great people.
Oh my gosh.
Creative people. Yes.
I'm so excited to know some of these new people.
Yeah.
Like from across the country. It's just phenomenal. Yeah.
Great people.
Great people.
People who were focused on shining a positive light in the world. So I think, Laura, it makes sense that we felt so much less anxious the morning following that workshop.
Agreed. I mean, because exactly what you just said, we had made it together with other people.
Yeah.
And we had heard all about things that they were making and things they were doing to be the change in the world.
So great. So great. And I will also say my spirits were also lifted that very same Friday by images that were coming out of Minnesota. Thousands and thousands of people turning out in those punishing Minnesota winter colds to protest ICE. The protests were massive and peaceful, and those images like rocked my world.
Yeah.
So moving.
They were powerful. I mean, tear inducing. Anybody surprised? Anyone else cry looking at those images?
Easy criers are nodding along.
The easy criers among us, we were right there. I was so moved. It was so powerful.
Laura knows this. Not everybody knows this. I actually lived in Minneapolis for 5 years. I attended grad school at the University of Minnesota.
Oh my God.
I launched my career at the Guthrie Theater. And I got to tell you, I was so proud to see all those people turning out in that bitter Minnesota winter to be heard. I love my Minnesotans. I was so proud of you.
I know my dear friend Sarah Shives, who who lives there. She also was just like, oh, they fucked with the wrong people.
Those are some hardy people.
That's right.
So the following day, Saturday, January 24th, the news reported that a VA nurse named Alex Preddy had been shot and killed. Based on what I see in the news and online, this situation in the Twin Cities is like a Rorschach test. Instead of look at this ink blot and tell me what you see, it's look at this video and tell me who is the domestic terrorist. To be clear, in case there's any confusion, we stand with the people of Minnesota and anyone else who is suffering unnecessarily under the current administration. Minnesota is being occupied by an armed, masked, militarized force with little accountability. If you believe otherwise, I sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, encourage you to reach past your typical news sources. from what I've heard over and over from my friends and acquaintances who live there, the sentiment that I hear again and again is that it's worse than it looks on the news and social media.
And we know it's being censored. A lot of that stuff is being censored. People are trying to get out images and video so that we can all see what's happening.
Yeah, it's tough to hear them report that. I believe them, and I think it looks pretty terrible on the news and social media. So I know it's bad. It's bad. And this past Sunday, January 25th, in the Sparkfile Creative Community Forum, one of our members posted, "I'm heartsick today. I want to find the light, want to believe it can get better. I want to will my creative soul into finding a solution, but my dreams are filled with desperate flight and my mind is clouded with despair. And so I reach out to you, my beloved community, to shoulder this weight with me, to find among the collective us the will to keep pressing, keep believing, keep creating a world that we want to inhabit, a world worth passing to the next generation." Thank you for those words, Beth Holly. So today, in case anyone listening is feeling any of those feelings articulated by our Sparkfile community member, I wanted to share some ideas and some resources, ways that you can use your creativity to fight for the powers of good, to be the change you wish to see in the world. I'll start by sharing something small that I have been doing because, again, I lived in Minneapolis. I still have friends and acquaintances there, and I have been sending videos to people there. I mean, taking videos of myself with messages for them that I then send to them. So those video messages check in on them. They let them know that we see what's happening and that we're looking for ways to help. It's a small thing, but it's given me a chance to reconnect with folks and let them know that they are not alone, and maybe to make them laugh or share a resource with them if their nervous systems are shot from all the chaos around them. So that is a very small thing that I've been doing. When I reached out to my friend Claudia and I shared a video with her, she reached back and asked that I use my platform to share out what's happening in Minnesota, which I am so happy to do. And thus, we are making this podcast episode. Laura, I know you sent an email out earlier this week containing all sorts of resources.
But that was thanks to Claudia as well.
That's right.
Claudia cued us into a number of those resources. So thank you, Claudia.
Claudia, thank you so much. Claudia shared this great post written by a Minnesota resident, Naomi Kritzer, who has a blog called Will Tell Stories for Food. Naomi Kritzer is a science fiction and fantasy writer living in St. Paul, Minnesota. And additionally, Naomi writes about politics and elections in Minneapolis and St. Paul specifically. Since 2006, she has written in-depth guides to the candidates in local races, especially races that tend not to get a lot of coverage. She writes this guide as a hobby and as a form of public service.
Wow.
And I love this.
Wow. Thank you, Naomi.
Talk about being the change.
Yeah.
Thank you for your service, Naomi. And thank you for the blog post that you wrote entitled How to Help If You Are Outside of Minnesota.
So good.
Naomi, we have really leaned heavily on your blog post, and we are so thankful for it. As I just mentioned, Laura sent out a great email earlier this week citing all sorts of Naomi's excellent ideas about where to donate money and how to use your capacity. And there are a few more ideas that Naomi shared that I would also love to spotlight and circulate. If you're despairing or angry or heartbroken about what's happening in Minnesota, the key with any of these is to pick one or two or three and to actually do them. Actually make something out of them. Don't just read about it or think about it or talk about it. Actually make something out of it, because in that way, you're really going to be contributing and it's going to change the feeling that you have in your body. So I share these ideas from Naomi Kritzer. And as I do so, we want you to be asking yourself, what can I make out of these? What can I make out of these? So here we go. Use your voice by contacting your senators/House reps. This is particularly great for really anyone who believes in the principles of democracy. You can use your voice and your self-expression by calling or emailing your representatives. And if you are insecure about any of this and need a little help, 5calls.org, the number 5, CALLS.org is fantastic. They provide information about issues. They provide contact information. They even provide scripts you can follow. Plus, in her blog, Naomi Kritzer provides some very nice variations in case you're sharing your position with a Democrat or a Republican representative.
Oh, interesting.
Yes. So, for instance, you can tell your representatives that you want Kristi Noem removed and ICE abolished.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you think there's absolutely no chance your representative will listen to you if you say you want ICE abolished, say you're shocked by what they're doing and this lawless rogue agency needs to be reined in,
Mm-hmm.
and the agents need to unmask and wear badges like every other law enforcement agency.
Okay.
Another variation, you could say that a masked secret police that breaks down doors to abduct citizens out of their own homes is profoundly un-American.
How about that?
How about that? Naomi Kritzer also reminds us that you don't need to mention your party loyalties to the person who supposedly represents you. However you use your voice, Naomi Kritzer says, say it now, say it tomorrow, say it next week. Use your voice or your writing skills, but you must say it. So, Laura, I got on to 5calls.org.
Yeah.
It's so beautifully organized the way that it's set up. Pick the issue that's important to you, pick that pressing issue, and it just sets you up. It just sets you up to reach out and communicate. It's a great use of your time and your voice.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And it's made so easy for us, like you said.
Oh my God.
It's almost like, my God, if you have 15 minutes to feel anxious, you have 15 minutes to make a call.
Yes. Put that on a t-shirt. I love that, Laura.
You know,
another idea that Naomi Kritzer shared, write a letter to the editor. This one goes out to our creative writers. Naomi notes that letters to a newspaper editor may feel profoundly old school, but they matter in a couple of ways. First, they are a kind of physical documentation of the Overton Window. If you're not familiar with it, the Overton Window, developed by Joseph P. Overton in the 1990s, defines the range of policies acceptable to the mainstream population at any given time. The Overton Window shifts over time through activism, media, crisis, and it moves ideas from unthinkable to popular, thereby shaping political discourse and policy possibilities. According to Naomi, this means letters to the editor are extra influential on senators and House representatives because they tend to showcase the most median, normcore set of opinions. A newspaper editorial page in Nebraska that's full of letters saying, ICE is a rogue agency. It needs to be dismantled. Will help to make abolish ICE feel like a safer and more reasonable stance for politicians to take.
that is fascinating. And I literally need to learn more about the Overton Window. I'm fascinated because we've talked about this before, but do you remember like when we were growing up, every single movie, the enemy, the evil person, the bad guy, they were Nazis. They were Nazis, and we were all in agreement. These are the bad guys. We don't want to be anything like them.
Yeah.
And this window, we saw it shifting. I remember, 8 years ago or so when we probably first talked about this. Like, when did we not have consensus on Nazis being bad? When did that? What? So I need to learn about this window and, the ways in which it is affected, including letters to the editor. Yeah.
Yeah. Naomi also links to the ACLU's how-to guide for people writing letters to the editor on any
Yes.
topic, not specifically ICE. And so you could do a quick Google, the ACLU's how-to guide for people writing letters to the editor.
Yes.
Also, we will make sure that we share out Naomi's blog post where so many of these great ideas come from. We'll make sure that we share this out on social when this episode of the podcast launches. For creatives who have the gift of self-expression, push back on disinformation. Push back on disinformation. Naomi shares that when you have conversations with family and friends, people who might listen to you, push back when they share stuff that they've heard that is just wrong. Naomi says among the things circulating in the national media that are really untrue, news pieces that keep describing Minnesota as roiled by protests. She said there's a fairly small constant protest by the federal building that's called the Whipple building. But other than that, what's going on in Minnesota, it's not actually protests. Minnesota is being massively disruptive by the aggressive and unnecessary occupation by ICE itself. Minnesotans are responding with nonviolent community defense. ICE and our administration, they're telling us to reject the evidence of our eyes and ears. If you have an opportunity with people who might listen to you, push back on false information. For creatives who like to speak love, send words of encouragement. If you'd like to send words of encouragement, you can visit the Stand with Minnesota site and click on Send a Love Note. If you have friends and loved ones in Minnesota like me, you could send an email, a text, a video. I got really brave the other day and I made just homemade EFT tapping videos for my friends whose nervous systems I thought could use it. And I was like, guys, this is so corny, but I feel like your nervous systems might just be lit up like Christmas trees. And in case this is helpful to you, I made you this little video and you can tap along with your Nana Susan. So
good.
If you're a lover, send love notes.
You can do that. And also, I just want to say, like, for creative, Susan, like, people are making all kinds of, if you're a filmmaker, if you're an animator, I've seen some incredible animations done mocking Trump and or clarifying the record of like what's actually happening.
Yeah.
Like, damn, that's some way to use your creative superpowers to counter misinformation.
I love that. And in fact, I'm going to look straight into the camera and say, if you're watching this on social media or if you're listening to this podcast and you've seen great examples of creatives doing great work, link them on this post.
Yeah.
Share them with us on social media. We would love to share them out.
Yeah.
Here's one of my favorite ideas from Naomi Kritzer. Talk about immigration and make it clear you think it's good.
Yeah.
These are Naomi's words. We are really goddamn lucky as a country that people want to move here. Immigrants are a gift, a completely undeserved gift. We should want them to come. There's a chant that Naomi has participated in at demonstrations that goes, say it loud and say it clear. Immigrants are welcome here.
I know that made me cry when I saw a video of that on that same day.
Yeah.
And signs like we love immigrants.
Yeah.
Immigrants are welcome. And it was such a powerful message.
Yeah. Naomi says, be clear in your conversations that you welcome immigrants, that you value immigrants, that you care about immigrants. Consider your immigrant neighbors to be an irreplaceable part of your community. Don't apologize for supporting immigrants. Don't accept the premise that immigration is a problem. Immigration is good. A very creative idea that was surfaced by one of the participants in our Be the Change workshop. I believe it was Amy. Amy shared an idea that goes out to our handcrafters on the Ravelry website. That's RAVELRY.com. You can purchase a pattern for the Melt the Ice hat. According to the Ravelry site, in the 1940s, Norwegians made and wore red-pointed hats with a tassel as a form of visual protest against Nazi occupation of their country. Within 2 years, the Nazis made these protest hats illegal and punishable by law to wear, make, or distribute. Ravelry states, as purveyors of traditional craft, we felt it appropriate to revisit this design. So you can purchase the hat pattern on Ravelry.com, and all proceeds from the sale of this pattern go to the immigrant aid agencies who will distribute the funds to those impacted by the actions of ICE. And I'm so proud to say that my mother, like my 85-year-old mother and my sister,
Oh my God,
are making these hats right now.
Suze, how can I get in on that order?
I'll check
Keep
in
me posted.
and I'll keep you posted.
Okay.
Another idea that I want to share with you all. This idea comes from my college/grad school boyfriend, Bart Roush.
What? Hi, Bart.
Hi, Bart. Bart is now a Presbyterian pastor at a church in Minneapolis. That's right, everybody. My old boyfriend is now the pastor of a Presbyterian church. Isn't that just the most?
I have questions.
I know. But you should know, before Bart entered divinity school, he was a directing major in college. He's a professional stage manager, a painter. He's a very, very creative person.
Amazing.
He's so great.
I have no doubt.
And I know it must be challenging in many ways for him, but I'm glad he's in a position of leadership right now because I think he's a great leader. So I told him that I was preparing this spark for the podcast. And I asked him if he had learned anything through this situation that I might share with our listeners, because he is one of those faith leaders who's out there, in the streets. But this is what he shared. He said, this is not specific to Minnesota, but preparation for other communities. Get to know your neighbors now.
Yeah.
Cultivate relationships of care and support. Find connections and create networks. There are a number of ways to do this, but he said, I have been struck by how communities, even those that were not deeply connected, have been strengthened and forged in this crisis. PTAs, moms and dads at bus stops, scouts, faith communities, artist groups, book clubs. Building social capital and trust is essential. It's been a beautiful thing to see, even amidst the brutality and cruelty. And I thought that was brilliant.
Well, Susan, I'm going to say something that is I'm probably going to feel embarrassed about later because it's so small. But it is like when you said, "Here's one small thing I'm doing."
Yeah,
this is one of the small things that I'm doing because every day when I walk outside, I feel kind of like I always have my headphones on, and I feel like listening to some melancholy music and having my head down and, and just being sad about everything. And I have forced myself, like, chin up, eye contact with neighbors, smile, say hello.
Yes.
Which is how I normally am in the best of times, but it is counter to how I'm actually feeling right now. But I'm like, no, you have to look up. You have to keep your chin up, and you have to keep connecting with people. And so my neighbors and people at the coffee shop and people at the cafe and, making those, forging those bonds and relationships, I think is so important when we all kind of feel like we could just curl up into a little fetal position and numb out and say, it's too hard to be a human being in this world right now.
Laura, I love that. And I will verify that I have been on Zooms with you, FaceTimes with you, and I see you moving through the world and doing this with people. And it's even more poignant knowing that you're challenging yourself to do it, that part of you just wants to be a little ball bug and curl up inside yourself, but you are directing yourself, chin up, eyes out, eye contact, smile, connect. Like I really appreciate it. And I know that may sound like a small thing, but I do think that is community building.
I think so too. It feels like it to me. It's a gift to myself too. Like after I've done it, I'm like, I'm not walking around thinking I'm giving a gift to others. But when when it's reciprocated, and then I feel a little dopamine hit of like, oh, wow, I've seen that guy, washing the street every morning for years, and we've never said hello to each other.
Yeah.
That ends today, friends.
I love it, Laura.
Today.
I love it.
Thanks.
Here's a little bit more from Bart. I thought this was awesome. He says, I have been at several actions. I thought that was interesting. He doesn't call them protests. He doesn't call that, he calls them actions. I have been at several actions, was part of the clergy group at Target headquarters, part of the larger march on Friday, and then at the Target Center for the rally that day, as well as several worship services. At several of these actions, particularly ones where clergy have been present, it has been amazing to sing with others. This is not original to me, but science has shown when we sing together, it calms our nervous systems and people's hearts begin to beat in sync. I also talked in my sermon this Sunday about the metaphor of singing in a group, that it allows us to take a breath when we need it, and we can trust that the song continues because others are singing while we take the breath that is needed. And we are singing when others take the breath they need.
Bart.
My colleague who went to St. Olaf, which is famous for its choirs, told me that the choir holds each other's hands so that one person can squeeze the hand of the person next to them to warn them that they are about to take a breath, so they need to keep singing. I think that is lovely.
I really love that metaphor.
I love it too.
And singing together.
Bart, I bet that was a good sermon.
Honestly, and singing together is so healing.
Yeah, that's a good, what do we make of it? Make a sermon. Go, Bart, go.
Make a sermon or make a sing-along. Who does that? Kevin Weinbold, Kevin on the Keys concerts. I think the last one or the one before, he added a song that everyone could sing together for this very reason.
Oh, Kevin.
I loved it so much.
That's such a good idea. So when you sing, it might sound like church singing, or it might sound like a Kevin on the Keys concert, like a beautiful sing-along, or it might sound like Billy Bragg's newest song, City of Heroes. It has lyrics like, what excuses would you tell yourself if this ever happened to you? Well, I live in a city of heroes. I know what I would do. When they came for the immigrants, I got in their face. When they came for the refugees, I got in their face. When they came for the 5-year-olds, I got in their face. And when they came to my neighborhood, I just got in their face. They used tear gas and pepper spray against our whistles and our phones. But in this city of heroes, we will protect our home. When they dragged people from their cars, I got in their face. When they took families from their homes, I got in their face. When they murdered our sister, I got in their face. When they murdered our brother, I still got in their face. Thank you, Billy Bragg, for that song you released this week. That's a great, what do we make of it? Near the end of this podcast, we often ask ourselves, so what do we make of it? What are we going to make of it? So per Martha Beck, that is the question you want to ask yourself. Not what do I do, but what do I make?
Yeah.
What do I make? Laura?
Well, I just wanted to say, Suze, that like in our workshop, one of the things I loved is that we start with your own superpowers. What are you good at? What do you enjoy doing?
Yes.
What will be a gift to yourself and others? Do you bake? Do you can you make food for people who are outside protesting? Do you make signs? Lori Barber, who is making the most beautiful, powerful signs of resistance in her unique style that are incredible. And there's a person I wanted to tell you about on Instagram. She is a professor of pop culture and politics. She's at Pop Smart Media, Dr. Shan. And what Dr. Shan has done is put together a 12-week curriculum. It's something that she has a superpower in, which is films. And she has put together a public syllabus, Films for Fighting Fascism. And once a week, you watch a film on your own time and go back to her page where there's a discussion about how that film, they're not perfect films, and they're not all perfectly representing the fight against fascism, which is part of the point, like what we can learn from that and how we can discuss it.
Wow.
And I thought, damn, that is so smart because it's something that she can give. That's something that it's a superpower she has. She's like, I have this curriculum. There's no reason why I can't give this to everybody. And we can all be having these conversations and helping to learn more about what we're up against and the ways that historically people have fought fascism.
Love it. And say the name of the account again, Laura.
At Pop Smart Media.
Love it. You know, this morning my mom is like mid 80s, and she said, we were talking about Bart, and we were saying how proud we were of him and all the people of Minnesota who were out there taking action. And she said, I don't think, she's 85. She was like, I don't think I could be out there, but I could make them soup. I could make soup for those people.
She can make them soup. She can make them red hats.
So keep them nice and warm. And what will you do? Maybe you'll make a video or write an email or send a text of support to someone who's going through it. Maybe you'll use your voice to phone your representatives or write a letter to the editor. Maybe you'll write a song of protest or sing a song to comfort your neighbor. Maybe you'll squeeze the hand of the person next to you to let them know that you need to take a breath and ask them for cover. Friends, we cannot solve it all. And we know that it's easy to get overwhelmed, but we can make one thing every day. We can take one action, and we can tap into our creativity to fight our anxiety and fight for the powers of good and do good in the world. And I just want to conclude this episode by shouting out my friend Claudia for sparking us to make this episode and for sharing so many resources. Claudia and everyone who we love in Minnesota and anyone who's suffering under fascism, our hearts are with you. Friends, I guess that's it. This episode of The Spark File was made on the lands of the Lenape and the Mohican people. And as always, we hope it put another bunch of sparks in your file. Listen, if there is a spark you'd like us to explore, if you are seeing people use their creativity, fighting for the powers of good, if you want to learn more about coaching with us, you can email us at getcreative@thesparkfile.com. You can reach us through our website, thesparkfile.com.
We are even happy to take your feedback if you want to give us feedback, but there is a price of admission. First, you have to share a creative risk that you have taken recently.
You can follow us on social at The Spark File, and be sure to subscribe, rate, and 5-star review this podcast. It really helps other listeners to find us. Also, if you like this podcast, we hope that you'll share it with people that you love. And if you didn't like it, you are welcome to listen to a different podcast. You don't even have to announce your departure. You can just go.
If something lights you up, on the other hand, and gets your creative sparks flying, we are writing you a forever permission slip to make that thing that's been knocking at your door. It's your turn to take that spark and fan it into a flame.
You know, you got to take it and make it. You got to make it. You actually need to make it.
Thank you, Suze.
When I bump into something that inspires me, I dump it in my spark file. Could be something that I want to make or how I want to be. I pump it in my spark file. I jump into my spark file. Let's open up the spark file.
Hey everybody, this is Jeffrey Scott Parsons. I have just realized that I don't like the sound of my own voice, which is hilarious because I've started a podcast. Here's the deal. When we are younger, let's say 8 to 10 years old, we find filters through which we relate and understand the world. They're usually artistic in nature. Sometimes we find books, music. A lot of people find movies. For me, I found musical theater. Musical theater was my little Instagram filter through which I began to relate to the world. And that meant that the reason I knew about FDR and the New Deal in school was because of Annie. And the reason I could name all 12 tribes of Israel at church was because of Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. And if I'm being totally honest, a few years later, as I got older, the way that I was able to process the death of my close family members was by watching Ragtime. That's why I wanted to create a podcast, was to have conversations about musical theater that felt more profound than the razzmatazz that we usually use to get people to buy tickets. Because let's be honest, I don't care if you think that musical theater is cool. Cool is overrated. I live in Los Angeles, so I know that cool is very overrated. But I do know that musical theater is important. And those are the conversations that I want to be having on this podcast. Here's how it's going to work. Every week, we're going to pick a show. And for that show, I'm going to have a guest, and we're going to have a conversation about that show, about that musical. So what are the musicals we're going to cover? These musicals can be hits. Maybe they're not. There's no shortage of musicals. Let's say, okay, the first musical to win the Tony Award for Best Musical was in 1949, Kiss Me Kate, right? So now we're in 2019. So if we just did the Best Musical winners, and that's not even including the musicals that didn't win Best Musical, like Beauty and the Beast, or West Side Story, or Wicked, or what else? Funny Girl, Gypsy. I think what will be really fun is that every guest is going to bring something different. And everybody has different tastes in terms of what they like the shows to be. Some of these shows will be some of my favorite shows. Some of them will be favorites of the guests. Some of them might be your favorites. And that might mean that we're covering a musical that I don't really care for. I'm looking at you, Mamma Mia. But it's one of the longest running shows in Broadway history, so who am I to say that people aren't connecting to it? So we'll look at it and we'll at least come up with a hypothesis as to why people connect to this show and why it's bringing them joy. So I want to hear from you. If you have an idea for a show that you would want us to cover, just email us at amusicalpodcast@gmail.com, or you can always contact us on Twitter at a musical podcast. I'm excited to hear your thoughts. Tell me what show you want us to cover, and then you have to give me a good reason. It can't just be, maybe it can just be, I did this show in my community theater and I want to hear what you guys have to say about it. If that's it, just be honest. I want to hear your reasonings why. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe to the podcast whenever you can, and share it with your friends. Because at the end of the day, you're another day older. No, at the end of the day, I want this to be a community where people can come and celebrate this art form in a way that maybe doesn't get explored as much. So please call me Jeff and bring along your show albums, because we're about to get turned up. No, that's terrible. So please call me Jeff and get ready, because a musical theater podcast is starting now.